Okay. Hi, my name is April Nicolas, and welcome to the Just Do You Summit. Here with us today is Cindy Sellers of Angel Farms in Hawaii. Aloha, Cindy.
Aloha.
This is our fifth time trying today, but I'm so excited to have you here. Real quick, I'm going to tell them why I'm doing the summit, then I'm going to turn it over to you and tell us about your journey and how it started. So
Okay.
for me, I grew up in a very dysfunctional home. My brother had gotten killed at the age of 17, and the only thing I can remember about his funeral was a minister telling me that I was going to be a healer one day, and nothing else stuck for the next year, and forgot all about it. And since then, I had been doing all kinds of training, meeting teachers, guides, doing Reiki, doing healing energy, all kinds of training that I didn't even know would lead me up to this like 20 years later after that incident. So what I wanted to do for the people in our audience today is put together like a training ground, so to speak, of if somebody wanted to take on a journey of a whole life with happiness, health, and wealth in their life, they would have you guys as their teacher, so to speak, that somebody who would hold their arms and say it's safe to be here. So I am so excited to have you. Go ahead and let us know how this journey started for you.
Well, interesting how you bring this up about how little seeds are planted throughout our lives to help us know that we're on the right path and that we're doing what we came here to do as our agreement with Creator. Okay? Because we do have agreements. We just don't always remember them, but we do. And when we're in the right place at the right time and everything just kind of fits, then we know that we're working in our alignment with our agreements.
Right.
And so mine started out, like it all does in our lives as a young child. I was taken away from my mom when my parents split up and my dad took us. And so I was away from her for quite a long time and ended up with a situation with a stepmom that put us in chairs for a while. But, when you look back at your life and go, I am the creator of my life. I'm not a victim. I'm a powerhouse of a goddess. And so I have to understand, why did I choose that journey? What's the co-designing of my journey so that I can own it and then I can change it? Because if somebody did something to us, we cannot change it. Yeah. So we have to go, I own it. This is my journey, not somebody else's. Now what am I going to do with it? Right. And so setting up that place for me to have silence and quietness was necessary for this to happen for me at a young age, so I could be a master listener to creators. I could guide and develop Angel Farms program that now has been happening for over 27 years. And the kick that kicked me into it, because there's this trauma that brings us to our intent, was a car wreck that happened in 83. And so from 83 to 89, I lived in hellacious pain because the only thing the doctors told me they could do was break my back and put 2 titanium pins in it, and that's supposed to keep me out of this pain. But I'm like, wait a minute, my back didn't break in the car wreck, it just bent, and I can't let you break it. So I didn't do it, and I'm so glad. But I lived in pain, and then in 89, I was laying on my living room floor in a neck brace. I'm like, I just can't do this anymore. I'm ready to give this up. And I was mostly pissed off at God, mostly. And I'm like, I have to have a miracle now. And so then here comes the download of what I needed to do for my own health first, which was to begin a cleanse the next day, and listening and guided and listening, and then teachers coming and all this, and then I am a miracle junkie because I was my first miracle. 10 days later, my back was straight and I was done. So hey, and now I watched like the last cleanse, another guy, no more diabetes, second day gone, and all the neuropathy out of his hands and feet, and that's a miracle, So I love it, what I do.
That's so amazing to me. And it's funny how you said you're a miracle junkie, as am I. I expect them,
Yeah.
And I think you got to the point of being sick and tired of being sick and tired, right? And you were just like, you need a miracle here. And then, like you said, on full on, it's mine. What do I do here?
Yeah.
So that is amazing. So for the most part, I think all of us is in this journey to back to remembering who we are. Like you were saying, there's this intent that we play a role, a massive role in the healing collectively. I also get that in the midst of those storms, sometimes we don't know we're in it. You know what I mean? So do you think that's also part of the journey, or how do they come to you? Are they ready for change? How do you see most of the people coming to you?
The people that we draw are mostly healers, known as the healers cleanse. And so that's mostly who we draw. And the people who, I still call them wounded healers until they come here, because they still have that, you know, that internal holding on. And here's kind of the way to explain it a little bit about, and then remind me about who is ready for this. That every time we eat, 85% of our energy goes into our digestive system. And that's a huge amount of energy for one particular system out of all of our amazing systems to be taken over that much energy. And that's why we don't swim after we eat. There's reasons. Okay. And what happens is let's say we sit around and we eat dinner with some friends and family, and then we talk for 20 or 30 minutes. And then we go out into the parking lot or out onto the road, and somebody smashes into our car. And all of a sudden, our body goes into what's called a fight or flight response. And so the adrenals take over, and shock takes over, and helps us lift cars if we have to. That's what is happening in those kind of situations. Saves our lives. It saved mine also. And what happens is whatever was passing through the digestive system gets held and encapsulated. And so then that leaves these pockets inside the large intestine mostly to create pockets for candidas and yeast and parasites and whatever. But that's not all that's held in there. It's the emotions and the thoughts that happened in the trauma. Right. And so that's what we call, then we create buttons. So then we have these buttons to push throughout our lives in order to get it clear, because the body wants it to be clear too, as well as our mind and our soul. And so what happens is that when it gets stuck in there, and then we think we're working on these things and we're forgiven, and it still shows up for us because it's still held in a cellular memory in our bodies. And if we really want to be the true masters of love and the true transformers of this planet out of the trauma it's in into health and happiness and vitality, and like I like to say, the lion shall lay down with the lamb and peace shall reign. And Jesus didn't say maybe, he said it shall. We have to own it, that's our purpose here, is to reawaken and get rid of those traumas and those dramas that happened around a meal in our lifetime. And that's what we go after too, is on the physical level, to get rid of the buttons, so that when we get a situation that shows up for us, and you know, we normally would have got pushed, and all of a sudden it just flows right on through because we don't have the buttons anymore. It's called freedom. And another word I use a lot is done. You know, we don't have to keep doing all the processing all of our lives when we can be done. And then we just get to show up and love, and show up and have joy, and show up and have great peace in our body, mind, and spirit. But we're looking for the connection. So a lot of people, when they come to Angel Farms, they've done this, and they've studied this, and they've read this, and they've done this diet and that diet, and they've, you know, practiced all this stuff. And then what happens is that we can bring it all together, and so you're not pieced out anymore. A lot of them say, wow, I feel like I'm all one piece now. I'm not all over the place. And that's what this is about, is helping the body catch up to your awesome, loving consciousness. And we must remember the body. The body is a master teacher, because every organ holds an emotion. Every organ is a teacher. And every organ is, if we're not paying attention, it will get our attention. And sometimes it hurts until it doesn't have to anymore. Right. So that's what I do, is I am the way to help the body. You can reach enlightenment and awareness through the body temple, because it works. It's a baptism from within.
Well, I have your book. I purchased it. Your book is You Don't Have to Hurt Anymore. And you refer to all of us as angels. And at some point, I think I look at it, we are all hurting at some point. Do you know what I mean? And those, as you speak, the body has points, and it speaks to us, giving us messages, because we're not talking about these traumas. We're not remembering. And it's our body's way of getting our attention, saying we need to address these things to go to the next level. And as I went through your book, for this interview. I mean, it's packed with so much information, so much information. And I was thinking, for somebody who's just starting out, and I have a feeling you're going to say your body is going to call to you. So what are their starting symptoms? What would be the slightest things that people shouldn't even dismiss as minute? You know, because our culture is so quick to say, take an aspirin, numb it, you know, like put a Band-Aid on it. So what from your experience would be like a body's way of saying you're in this journey, it's trying to get your attention? What would those signs be?
Number one, pain. Pain is God trying to get our attention, and it works. Okay, that's kind of does it have to be that way? Unfortunately, it happens that way. The lethargy, not being able to feel like you have any energy, is a big, it's a first one, but it's something to pay attention to. Not being able to sleep at night and not waking up rested is something to pay attention to, because if you're not resting, the organs are not.
Me personally, have you been in my room? Okay,
well, but it's common symptoms, you know. Yes. Belly aches is a big thing, because this, you know, in your gut area is our fear center. And so when we're looking at this thing that I call fear fantasized emotion appearing real, okay, and we understand that if we a good way to explain it is that if you can imagine yourself, and this is the mind, this is the power of the mind. Imagine yourself getting into the front seat of a 12-story roller coaster.
Oh no!
Yeah, and you're in the front, not in the back, and you know it has the bar that goes across your thigh to hold you down. It makes that sound that goes click, click, click as it's going up higher, 5 stories, higher, 10 stories, higher, 12 stories, and you're about to drop 12 stories down. Boom! Where do you feel that in your body?
In your gut.
In your gut. And so, and remember this, that fear is a contracting energy, and love is expanding. And so when we have fear in our gut, guess what it does to our intestines is it crunches them. And then when you have stuff in the intestines not allowing the nutrition through broke down enzymatic and bacterial breakdown to get through the bowel wall to support us, we go into a systematic shutdown. In other words, the organs will go, I don't get what I need, I can't regenerate, so I'm out of here.
Right.
And so, you know, the belly is a good way to pay attention to. If it's starting in the gut, everything's going to be having problems from there. The liver, the lungs, the heart, the pancreas, the spleen, the kidneys, all of it suffers when it doesn't get absorption through the intestines.
Right. So Angel Farms, you guys are like a whole mind, body, soul realignment kind of facility. Is how I look at it. Through the process, you're not only releasing body toxins, you're also releasing traumas on a cellular level, right? And so when they come to you, where do you start as a facilitator? Where does the journey of this, is it a 10-day cleanse?
Yes, 10 days minimum, because sometimes people have longer because of the right side. Number one hip replacement is the right hip. Number one kidney that goes down is the right kidney. Number one knee that goes is the right knee. Number one side we stroke on when we have a stroke is the right side that goes down, because there's reasons. Because all the good food coming in from the small intestine after enzymatic breakdown of 23 feet, it empties in through the large intestine right in front of your right hip area, and then has to go uphill. Gravity doesn't help it, stress doesn't help it, and that's a great place for worms and ropes and pockets and accumulations to accumulate right there, and then stops the nutrition going through the bowel wall, which then can't serve it, and then the area starves to death. And so we have had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of scheduled hip surgeries and never needed any, because it does come back. But we have to give it the right opportunity and get the things out that are starving it to death. And then the body is I call it a self-correcting mechanism, because it does want to be whole. It wants to be well. It wants to absorb nutrition and turn food like carrots and potatoes and yams and bananas into thoughts and flesh and lovingness. It wants to do this at a perfect level. And that's kind of what we do here, is we work on how do we help all of this from the time it comes into the mouth and breaks down all the way through the system to make muscles and bones and tissue. And if we don't have absorption, we're not only absorbing nutrition, we're not absorbing information either.
Right.
Because there's a lot of information in nature called the sun and the rainbows and the moon and the rain and the butterflies and the bees and the stuff that we pick up from our aina or our land that helps keep us as part of our body temple is land. It's like on the elemental charts, we're all of that.
Right. Cindy, you froze.
To get around here to love more.
Great. Now, so as you work on the body, obviously these memories will obviously come up.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're given the opportunity to heal those things, right? And address them and release them is what's happening, I sense.
Right. And I'll give you an example. Today is the first day on a cleanse that we're beginning today.
Yes.
And so today, what we're asking people to do is to look at the kidneys, because we're addressing the left kidney, which is the major organ of the day. And so immediately I'm telling people today, you want to look at your kidneys. So we're going to do a little lesson right here, like we talked about today. Okay, so if you hold your fists up like this, these are the size of your kidneys. Okay, we have many organs in our body. They're fist size organs. And so if you are going to take your left fist and you're going to hit your partner or your neighbor or Trump or Clinton or Bush or somebody outside of yourself, you're going to be hitting this with your fist. And so then you're going to take your fist and you're going to put it right to the middle of your back, and that's where that kidney resides.
Right.
If you're going to take your right fist and you're going to hit yourself. Okay, this is the self-judgment, self-criticism, self-hammering, and then we put that in the middle of our back, and that's where that kidney resides. So the right kidney is self-judgment and criticism. The left kidney is judgment and criticism outside of ourselves. Now, the ancients called the kidneys the reins of humans. And so if you think of being on a horse and you're riding your horse and you've got your reins, one goes a little this way, one a little this way.
Yes.
So which way are we taking ourselves outside of love if we're judging and criticizing anybody, including ourselves? How is that supposed to keep our kidneys healthy? Now, what do the kidneys do that's very important to understand? They process 50 gallons of fluid for us every day.
That's amazing.
50 gallons. We don't pee that much, but that's how much our kidneys process fluids. They're also our final filtration system to our beautiful heart. They're our biggest internal vein called our aorta, which is the diameter of a garden hose.
Wow.
And so if we don't think that our kidneys are very important to our hearts and circulation of 60,000 miles that our heart pumps blood at 2,000 gallons a day at 48 miles per hour, then we have to understand there is a connection between kidneys and heart, but it begins in the kidneys. And over the many years and over 6,000 people worldwide that I've done this program with, I have found that the kidneys are the first causal of disease in our bodies. When we start judging and criticizing others as less than God. And so a great secret that I like to share just to support kidneys, because we never want to go on kidney dialysis.
No.
It's not fun.
No.
It really isn't. But when we understand that our kidneys are all about our judgment and our criticism, and if we can start seeing everything as God / love, because that's the definition of God, is love,
right,
and keep it a secret, like our Hafiz says, our ancient poet from the 1300s, he says, start seeing everything as God and keep it a secret.
Right.
Become like a mockingbird with this song resting sweetly on its tongue. So we don't have to tell everybody we see them as God, even if they're in goofy behavior, but we don't judge it and criticize them. We let them and God have their journey, and we just bless them with great love.
You're free.
We send them more love. Don't hurt our people's behavior. So that's the first day. And every day, tomorrow will be pancreas and spleen, next day heart and lung, next day digestive system, next day brain, next day brain. We spend a lot of time in the brain because the brain is important.
It's very important. So every organ is important, and obviously all our thoughts and beliefs affect us, right? It affects
Everyone.
our mind, body, and soul alignment. It affects the world that we're creating inside that we then project outside into the living world, in the world that we're creating on a daily basis. There's sections in your book that talks about proper hydration and eating the right food and empowering ourselves with the proper use of herbs. You even touched on that. There are so many small things that we can do daily that adds to our overall well-being, is what I gathered from your book. And that we don't, if we can't get to you right away, obviously there's the handbook of your book. And we do that as we plan our trip to you. But I was skimming through the herbs, and it's everything that we can get locally here, anywhere really, or buy online and get it shipped to us. Is that right? Yes, it is. So freedom from fear, I wanted to touch on that from your book. Tell us a little bit about that.
Or pick your own. Good question. So fear is this fantasizing real. You there?
Yes.
F-E-A-R, fantasized emotion appearing real. We feel it in our gut. If we want to stop it, we take a belly breath, which immediately relaxes your magnificent diaphragm, which the ancient called the unifying of all body, mind, and breath. And so we belly breathe, push your belly out, and it relaxes the diaphragm and stops the adrenaline fight or flight response. It's very important because many people are told by their doctors or their their helpers in their healthcare that adrenals cannot recover, and that is not true. It's very important that people have to understand the body is a self-correcting mechanism if we give it the right opportunity. And so fear. So if we address fear, by the way, I have this on a freebies download on my website. It's a paper that they can print out called Angel Instant Fear Release Technique. So you can just print it out on a PDF file and carry it with you if you have autoimmune system problems, if you have worry problems, or rashes or things that hives that tend to show up more when you're nervous. And so this is a way to keep your nervous system healthy. And so what you do is you feel fear in your gut, just like you're standing on the edge of the Grand Canyon. You stop, you put your hand on your belly, you take a belly breath. Sorry. Larry, I'm recording here. And then you ask yourself 5 questions. So you ask yourself, what do you hear right now? But just everybody pay attention. What do you see right now? Hi, April.
Hi.
What do you smell? What do you taste in your mouth? What do you feel on your body? Feel your clothing on your body. If you're sitting down, feel your butt on your seat. And in this moment, what do you have to fear? So I'm asking you that question, April. What do you have to fear in this moment?
Just this moment, the internet freezing up during this lovely interview. But you know what? I'm releasing it.
Yeah, there you go. Because at this moment it isn't happening, right?
Yes.
So the brain can go even in 3 minutes possible and go, instead of like right now, everything's good. And so, yeah, so you pull into your senses. What do you hear right now, see right now, smell right now, taste right now, and feel right now? Because in this moment, there's nothing to fear. Nothing to fear. And then the mantra that we follow is where I am, God is, and where God is, I am. Because God is not I was, God is not I will be later, God is I am right now, right here. And as long as the greatest fear that humans have is being someplace without God.
Being separate.
I'm looking for you, I'm looking for you. And even in there's a picture of Jesus where he's knocking on a door, knock, knock, knock. And the whole point is knock, knock, knock. Oh, whoops, I was knocking from the inside. Because the great I am is right here. It's not someplace outside of us. It's right here inside of us. And it wants to be known that this is where I reside, and this is where you can tune in, tap in, turn on, and now get on with the loving like God. Be the lover like God.
Which is amazing, because this is why the journey back to self is so important to me, because that's how I remembered my wholeness. This is why I'm doing this whole summit. And I always used to say that there's only 2 kinds of energy in the world. One was fear and one was love, and love being God. And so when we're not aligned with love within ourselves, and others and what is, then we're in fear,
Mm-hmm.
judgment, separation, which then resides in the place of being cautious, right? And as our culture, we then shove those feelings, we stuff ourselves with fast food, everything quick to make the discomfort go away, which then leads to blockage of our awareness, as you were saying, hearing, tasting, feeling, being present in the here and now, that
Mm-hmm.
love state, that God state.
Mm-hmm.
So um, coming to you, I think people come with all the fears that has been stored in their body. And
Mm-hmm.
they are released, in being that they're healers, they will then go out into the world kind of like realigned, right? And then it's up to them to do, put in gas, so to speak, if you are a car, on a daily basis, right? Trusting that
Correct.
you've given them the tools to do
We get and
that.
we. Yep.
And then to touch bases with you here and there and say, this is how I'm doing, you know?
Yep.
And
Yep.
as you know, as angels connect, as humans connect, when we create that bond, we don't ever lose it, really, you know, whether
Right.
we know each other
Right.
as strangers or personal. But how
Spiritual.
does somebody maintain, aside from the little things, what is the quick maintenance? As you were saying, was that the touching bases of awareness? Would that be enough to start?
Well, good question. First of all, I teach people here how to eat properly, okay, without making it so hard. Because man, it's eating properly has got so freaking hard. You can't hardly do it. So, very easy every day to do 7 different vegetables,
Okay.
2 fruit, 2 protein, 1 carb, which is anything that grows like a grass, and that includes bananas and corn, are carbs, not fruit and vegetables. So they break down in the mouth, not in the intestines. Okay, and a gallon of water and a lot of love. So again, that 7 vegetables, 2 fruit, 2 protein, 1 carb, a gallon of water, and a lot of love are keys to health, for building blocks for your body every day. And I tell people, don't eat the same things every day, because the body doesn't like the same thing. It likes variety. That's why Creator has put so many beautiful different varieties on the planet here for us to, explore, yum up, and enjoy. And again, chewing your food till it's liquid is vital, because you have no teeth in your entire digestive system except in your mouth. And if you don't chew it till it's liquid, you lose the game.
Yes.
Then the body can't break it down, and so that's not a good thing. Water is a key, and understanding, never put anything in water and call it water. You can't put lemon in water and call it water. You can't put tea in it and juice in it and coffee in it and any of it and call it water, because the tongue is very smart. It picks up bitter, sour, astringent, salty, sweet, and fat, and tells the whole body and all the organs, this is coming for you. Be ready, be ready, be ready. And so this is the information station, and you have to chew the food to liquid, or it's over. Okay, and um, and then um, uh, and then I tell people, feed your spirit every day, or it will go hungry. And we can get very busy in our day, and then we forgot to say a prayer, or to be in gratitude somewhere, which can be a prayer. Gratitude is a great prayer. But what happens is if we can feed our spirit every day, an easy way to do that, which is to put a book like Marianne Williamson, or my book, is a great spiritual food book, or master teachers, Wayne Dyer or Abraham Hicks, and you pick up and read 1 paragraph before you go to bed at night.
Right.
Something, or a hot feast, something like, you might want to say, dear companions, we have been in love with God for so very, very long. What can we now do but forever dance?
That's amazing.
And so
Indeed.
that's a spiritual.
Don't go anywhere. I see you, but I can't hear you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Cindy?
Now I can.
Okay, great. Don't worry, I'll have somebody edit all that.
Oh,
So
good.
let's pick up with, is there anything that we have left out that you'd love to add for our participants to know?
Yes, let's do this. I like people to be very, first of all, aware of Angel Farms as a place of hope, that you don't have to hurt anymore. And I'd like people to know that we're doing our awesome book launch finally after revision of it on the 3rd, 4th, and 5th of April. And so if they want to order it at $1 over cost, it's a very good time to buy the book and really learn and hear some beautiful miracle stories and how to be healthy. I know that if the world has this information, it's going to be a healthier world whether they come and do the cleanse or not, because
Right.
it's that powerful of information. I like people to really know how to be careful with caffeine, because when I see people have very thin skin and they bruise and bleed easily and their blood vessels are thin and they're on a stomach for years and years. And what happens is caffeine has tannic acid in it, and right. And so what we want to do is take protein before you do caffeine. So eat an egg or a bite of protein or something, and that stops the two acids from hardening your stomach lining. And then you have to take a bowel flora at night because it kills bowel flora also. Tannic acid kills bowel flora, and that's why you have a large intestine, is specifically for bacterial breakdown. And if you get that a problem, you're going to have problems absorbing all of your life. It's an important thing to know that caffeine causes more harm than good. And I like to tell people about, please stop taking oil supplements. Coconut oil in your smoothie, coconut oil in your coffee. Now they're doing that.
Really?
And yes, it's crazy. And I just did a radio show with Dr. Hildy, she asked such a great question, was what are the trends that you've seen different in bodies? Because I have seen inside of more bodies than anybody on this planet, and nobody can ever catch me in this lifetime. And I've seen, how the diets have changed and what we've been looking for and stuff over the years, and thousands of people. And what I found is oil slicks coming out of the body are so crazy, and then the pores open, and because it rancifies in our warm bodies. And so people are taking fish oil supplements and coconut oil supplements and flax oil and hemp oil and calling it natural. And I like to ask people, how many times have you ever in your whole life ever seen oil concentrated in nature, natural for us to eat? And the answer is never. Only mankind squishes a lot of things to get a tablespoon of oil and call it natural. So eat the food, but don't eat concentrated oil, because the #1 epidemic surgery going on in young people right now is gallbladder removals.
Yes, it is.
And it's so horrible. And what's causing it is oil, which is overloading our gallbladder, which is as big as your little finger, and you're killing it. And stop it, because it's hurting you. And I like to tell people, what else is really big? Be careful with dairy, because it causes a lot of mucus, and be careful with soy and peanuts, because they're so GMO'd now, and it's hard to find them not processed crazy. So if you get organic soybeans, that's different. But be careful with soy, because it's causing a lot of thyroid problems. And so another huge trend in the last 4 to 5 years is thyroid problems, whether they're hyper or hypo, causing a lot of problems. And a lot of people are going, having their thyroids removed, which is a butterfly in your throat. By the way, you want to look at your butterfly and be thankful for it. It's a transformation of expression of heart into words, and we have to understand there's a reason why it looks like a butterfly.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah, we got to understand our expression. It is safe for us to express how we feel, and it's important. And so we have to watch that. And I also like to tell people, support the thymus in in order to support the thyroid. And there is tools in my book on how to do that with iodine, but not taking iodine supplements, because you can't regulate that. But you can do iodine right over the thymus gland, and that will help support your thyroid. And that is very important. And again, lapis lazuli necklace, I like to recommend that. Wear that because it holds your throat chakra open, and you have to express yourself. And so it makes you express yourself. Another huge, biggest cancer I've seen, throat cancers.
My grandma had that.
In the last 4 cleanses, we've had 1 in each cleanse. Throat cancers. It's just crazy. And so again, this is about using the mantra. Using the mantra, it is safe for me to express how I feel.
No, that's what I mean. My grandma didn't speak up.
And it gets all stuck right here and then cause cancer, because then they get angry about it. And hate causes cancer. Depending upon who you hate, you will develop cancer in an area, because hate is the farthest away from love you can get, which means it's the farthest away from God you can get.
Yes.
You can't hate anything or it will kill you. I promise it will, because it helps you out to return to love. And I call cancer a wake-up call, a master's call. Somewhere in you, you said, I'm going to get this thing to love, or I'm going to kick my ass, my butt. I better not say it. I'm going to get this thing to love, right? Because you're going to get there. Even if you cross over, you will return to great love.
Yes.
And so but you can do it embodied. And love, wake it up. And I tell people, when your mind gets crazy, when you wake up in the morning and all the things you got to do, put up right in front of you. So when you wake up, this little thing that says, my purpose is to love. So when you wake up, it quiets the mind, gets you kicking in your heart. Wow, love today? Yeah, I can love. I can do that. And the rest of it will happen in my doing when I'm loving. Yes. Including the laundry and the dishes and the job interviews and the conversations with your partners, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's all in about how do we follow through with what we're born to do, which is to create more love in our lives. And again, look, I also like to real quick, April, do this, because I do this like on the 6th day of our cleanse to walk people through the body. Okay, if you're hurting in your feet, it's because you don't want to step into something new. If you're hurting in your knees, it's because you're being stubborn and inflexible, because the knees move in many directions. If you're hurting in your hips, it's because you're having fear of major change or movement. These are big things like relationship, jobs, or houses. So when people get stuck in a place, their hips hurt. If they're hurting in their lower back, it's because they're having worries and fear about money. Okay? And I can do a whole nother thing about money if you want to, but if you're hurting in your middle back, it's because you're having guilt and shame, and that hurts you in the middle back. It's kind of like hooking yourself on the cross, so to speak. And I'd like to tell people that God needs the wood for higher purposes than hanging you. and that's true, because God wants us to love more than hurt ourselves. Yes. If you're hurting in your upper shoulders, it's because you're having too much overwhelm, overburden, and over-responsible. And many people hurt there because they think they're responsible for everything instead of giving it all to God, and then you're responsible to love, which is easier on your shoulders. Absolutely. If you're hurting in your stomach and your gut area, it's because you're having fear. That's the fear center. If you're hurting in your spleen, it's because you're not loving yourself enough, and your spleen is your self-love center. And I talk about that all in chapter 2, because it's a very important, if we don't love ourselves, how in the world are we ever going to expect other people to love us and not be needy and sticky, like, please love me so I'll feel better about myself, instead of like, wow, I love myself and let's share. Let's share our love. I don't need your love, but let's share. That's easier. Let's just share more. That's better.
Right. Well, I love your book. I love what you're doing.
And if you, right on. Thank you. I do too. I love it.
It's so enjoyable, but I wanted to remind everybody about the free gift that you have. I know that you have one you already have there, and you mentioned it earlier. If you could just repeat that so that they can access it.
The free gift?
Yes.
So right now, we probably have a few of them. Right now, we're offering $1,000 off the cost of our cleanse if people sign up during the book, before the end of the book launch on April 5th.
Okay.
And so that's a very good opportunity, because I do not discount this cleanse. We already keep it as low as we can, and the cleanse is worth every penny and then some. People are always telling us we don't charge enough for what we do, for what happens here. And people do lose their wrinkles, by the way. Their hair darkens if it's gray. Not always, but mostly. They lose weight unless they have weight to gain. It's all about bringing balance. All of those things are all common. Fingernails get stronger, bones get stronger, livers regenerate really rapid. All of that happens. But I forgot what I was going to say about that. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay, so, and for especially, I know that you created a PDF specially for the summit participants.
Thank you. That's what it was. I forgot about that.
Yes.
So yes, I have a very powerful PDF about the power of water and the water of consciousness in your body. And I can send that out, I can send it to you, and you can help send it out too. But
okay.
It's very important, because if you want to save your brain from Alzheimer's, senility, and dementia, never let your brain get dehydrated, and don't call anything but water water. And your brain needs a lot of water every day to flush it and make it clearer thinking.
Absolutely.
Always.
Well, Cindy, it's been an amazing journey with you. This interview is amazing. I love the work you do, and I will continue to support you. And I hope to one day come over. But this is the kind of information that the world needs, and that's why these interviews are so important to get out into the world and just help everybody heal within themselves and connect and heal collectively all together. And what Angels Farms is doing is hopefully going to touch so many lives that they themselves would then go out and spread the word of healing, because in reality, if we took charge of it, we're doing this to ourselves, and so our healing also starts with us.
And isn't that exciting to know that it's not about other people, it's about us? I love that. When I first figured that out, I'm like, wow, it isn't about everybody else, it's about me. And when I'm more clear and I practice this thing called love, even though it wasn't easy in the beginning to go, wow, because as humans, we're taught to not trust love.
Absolutely.
And so therefore we're taught not to trust God/love. And when we go, wow, we have to do this thing called practicing love. We have to do what Jesus did. We have to do what Buddha did. We have to do what Krishna did. We have to do what the masters have said. Love, and see how it feels. See what it does for your health and your happiness and for the transformation of the planet. That's all we have. The only thing that caused all the problem is when we didn't love for centuries. And now it's time, because the lion shall lay down with the lamb, and peace shall reign, and that only comes from loving more. A lot of people say that's when we don't eat meat. That's not what it's about. It's about love. It's about how do we love more today than we did yesterday.
Yes.
How do we love more today and act like God more today than we did yesterday? And I like to use this too. This is a good example. If you have trouble loving that person, just did that thing down the street that you disagree with, then you can sometimes borrow Jesus's moccasins. Can I borrow your moccasins and practice love here because I'm having trouble? This is how I did it too. If you have trouble finding compassion for the person that's in the military and did this, then you can borrow Buddha's moccasins because he was the master of compassion. If you have trouble of being happy about situations, which is a requirement for the pancreas and health and removal of diabetes from the body or the potential of it, you have to have the smile in the body called the pancreas happy. And so happiness is a way to consciousness because Krishna did it, right?
Yeah,
and
you
so,
definitely cannot get there by being miserable.
No, and it keeps you from loving, and it keeps your body unhappy. And again, pancreas, you know how if it's written in every tradition, and it is, that mankind is created to have great joy. And if we're not, because we're going to be depressed or sad or anxious or whatever, what happens is the pancreas, which in the body by an X-ray looks like a smile, in the shape of a smile, 7-inch sea cucumber looking organ in the body in the shape of a smile, that literally produces 325 different enzymes for us after the food leaves the stomach, not before, by the way. And so you have 23 feet of enzymatic breakdown in your small intestine, but the pancreas is responsible for that. And if you're not happy, good luck, because you're going to be leaving, because the pancreas is a fast way out in order to return to great happiness. Because you will. Either
Yes,
way, do it now or do it
absolutely.
later. It doesn't matter.
Exactly. So for those of you watching us, listening to us, um, the biggest thing to take away is that self-love comes first, and we have to take care of ourselves, mind, body, and soul. And where this lies is, we have to take ownership of that responsibility. And Angel Farms is the place to go when you are out of alignment. Absolutely. So again, thank you, Cindy, for your time. And I love your work. We
Thank you.
will
Adore
talk to
you
you soon,
too.
and I will keep in touch with you. Thank
Awesome.
you.
You rock. And I'm so proud of you for doing this.
Thank you
You know,
so
we got to get the
much.
word out that people have hope, that they can really transform before they even get ill. They can just,
Yes,
let's not go there and have blood pressure issues and cholesterol issues and blood sugar issues and migraines and pain, and when we really don't have to, because when we're free of it, we
yes,
bless a lot more lives. We are more usable by Creator when we're clear.
absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
I love your work. I love you. We'll talk to
Thank
you
you,
soon.
sweetheart.
Thank
Blessings.
you.
Have a great day.
Okay,
Aloha.
you too. Aloha.